And we're live. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to Here Be Dragons, where creativity meets courage and dragons live in the art we create and the lives we lead. I'm Carla Morrow of DragonLady Art, and with me is my co-pilot and dragon rider extraordinaire,
Alan Childers of Alan Childers Art and Illustrations. We're here to talk about the dragons we face, the treasure we're after, and the wondrously weird journey of life. Every episode will explore what it takes to face your dragons or maybe even ride one. Yes,
So
I'm
grab your
totally reading
shields,
off
sharpen
script.
your claws, and let's dive in today. We're asking the question that matters most. What dragons are you facing? Welcome.
Hi.
Hello. We've got my friend Rachel here with us. She's a social media whisperer.
You do whisper.
Guru.
You were careful not to say expert, so I was trying to think of something that wasn't expert related. So
I know.
The algorithm whisperer.
I just hate that expert term because no one's an expert anymore. It's so all over the place. It's constantly changing, and you end up finding that the folks that know the least about it tend to do almost the best sometimes. And so I kind of love it and hate it and all the things in between.
Yes.
Rachel, do you want to introduce yourself and tell our listeners what you do and where
Renee.
you do it and all that good jazz?
Sure. Yeah, so my name is Rachel Maria Portillo. I have two main professions. So I'm a video producer for a university in New Mexico called New Mexico State University. And then I also am a content creator for a local a local music venue here in Ruidoso, New Mexico called Jack's Backstage. And then here and there, I take clients for content production, primarily video, but I'll also advise. And as I was telling Carla, being a young person on a team for, the last decade, you tend to be assigned social media. And so having seen it and gotten to work with it from organizational views to individual clients to my own personal, you learn a lot on the fly and you learn a lot by doing. So that's where I consider my experience to come from, is just being in the mud with it for pretty much 10 years.
Awesome.
She was nice enough to help me with my live for my gallery opening and things like that. So
one of the questions we ask our all creatives on our show with the Here Be Dragons Artcast is, what dragons are you facing? And have you faced your dragons? Are you riding your dragons, or are they intimidating you?
Ooh, right now, the biggest dragon I'm facing is that I'm horrifically sunburnt.
Oh, no.
Yep, I was telling Carla I've got my aloe vera on hand. I think the more artistic dragons are just what most artists face, which is, who am I? What am I doing? And am I happy with it? And so I think I'm constantly facing those and growing new ones every day, and then riding off into the sunset with those. I hope that answered some of the
questions. Totally.
For sure.
Yeah. I think we all definitely face that kind of those kind of dragons.
Existential dragons.
Yes.
They're pretty big.
Actually, you're leaning towards working towards documentaries and stuff, right?
Yeah, and I think that comes from figuring out what I really want to do. I've had a lot of career shifts, and it's been from science and realizing that there's some love of media that's always been in there, and content creation or video production, and figuring out exactly what my medium is, which is partially why I love and have taken such a serious interest in social media in the last few years, is because it affords you those opportunities to create such things and put them out there, and then the right people see them. And I don't mean right people as a management team or a record label or whoever, an artist might be looking for. But for me, I think I'm a weird artist, and I think of things in weird ways. And sometimes I like to make videos about them, and getting to put those out there and hear that they resonate with people, or that other people see things similarly, is the best feeling. And it's a connection that I really value. And so that's why I like to learn more about social media, to be able to do that more effectively.
Do you find a big difference between the social media content, emotionally, the social media content that you're making and the videos that you're making for college, the classes that you can upload and Yeah, the online class stuff.
Yeah, I definitely do. And what's cool is I like to learn from the personal exploration. So whether it's making a documentary about a concert, or which is what I would be doing at Jack's Backstage, or getting to produce some content for NMSU that's more around study based or whatever. When I actually get into my day job of making an educational video where we're having a professor lecture on a topic, I'm constantly thinking about how we're reaching our audience and how we're connecting with them. So even something as small as a professor recording the average, or for me, it's the average where we see a slide and a tiny little professor in the corner. I really try to encourage them to just leverage one checkbox on a Zoom setting, which allows them to record their face, their screen, and then their face with the screen separately. So in the edit, if they're talking to their students, for example, if I have my little slide here and we're talking about cellular respiration, and I want to tell you about my skin cells that are respiring and freaking out right now because they're burning, I would then switch the camera angle to where it's on me, the professor, talking directly to camera to the student rather than them still seeing the slides. And even that subtle shift allows the student to connect more with the material and not disconnect. So easy to do, especially now when we have podcasts and music on our phone all the time and we're in the other room cleaning. Students are busy people and they're doing that too. So I try to keep them there as long as I can with choices like that.
That's really cool.
So
Yeah.
it's like you're micro farming attention.
Yes, I'm really glad you put it that way. That is such an interesting way to say it. And absolutely, I am a steward of the land and a steward of the attention. That's my plow, if you couldn't tell.
You're right. She's working it. Yeah, so Rachel tends to be really a lot more positive about social media than the rest of us who have been on this podcast for more than 3 episodes. Which is why I asked her on, was to kind of hopefully give us a new way of thinking about social media and the changes. Because I like a lot of us, especially, in Alan and I's group, we've been on Facebook for anywhere from 10 to 15 years. I was one of the early adopters of pages, and I gathered my followers in the mid to late 2000s, early 20 teens, and now I can't reach them. And it's infuriating to see this number of people that used to be engaging and used to, 60% of the people that would come to shows would tell me that they saw my post on social media and stuff like that, and that's no longer the case. And it's very disheartening. And I know I've said it, and I know Alan has said it, and I know a lot of the other people that we've talked to that have said it. Social media is not what it was like 10 years ago. And unfortunately, that's the entire world, right? Like, it moves on and it changes and the algorithm changes and things like that. So we need to, I think, in order to move forward, a lot of us need to adopt a new mentality of, it's not the enemy, right? The change is not the enemy. And that's hard, especially as we get older and we have other shit to think about. But
one of the things I kind of think about too is that for static artists, for artists that create static content, like our followings and our algorithms and were initially like the backbone of what Instagram used to build its platform. And now it almost feels like we're being chastised for remaining static or remaining or not integrating fully with all of the tools available that it wants you to use. So
absolutely. You've got my wheels turning. And so, as you're talking about static artists, the push and the niche has been shifted to where if you're not pretty much posting your stuff to Pinterest and comfortable with it being stolen, like, okay, the views aren't there, and it's really frustrating. And at least on TikTok, that's where I do a lot of my, I would call it research, where I'm, observing what artists are talking about, where they're going, and listening to their chats. There's a lot going on right now where artists of all mediums, from musicians to static artists to filmmakers, are being required to make reels. And the folks like me who are, in a video medium, like, okay, we're in our element. in a way, it's kind of our moment of, oh my gosh, everybody's consuming these videos. Okay, let's get in on it. Let's get in on it. And statics are having to learn a whole new skill, grow another limb, if you will, to be able to get their art to people. And it's so frustrating. However, as Carla said, I tend to be weirdly positive about problems with
I
social
didn't say
media.
weirdly positive. I just said more positive than the rest of us.
My
We're all
interpretation.
doom and gloom millennials whose world is crashing down. So, you know.
I think there are tools that make it easier than, and I'm not.
We might be weirdly oppositional. So
That's good. That's good.
It comes with the
find
ADHD.
myself on the side of how can we fix it? How can we make it better? And I think that's maybe too optimistic, but I do think for static artists, and at least as I explore more tools that are being offered, there's a lot of free ways to low effort get in on that wave right now. And the wave will change, right? Like we were saying, the only thing constant is change. And absolutely, this video media may change and it may go to GIFs or GIFs or 8-bit art. Like, who knows? But I do have faith in the human spirit and the human artist, in that I'm excited to see what the next change is and see how I can start doing the artistic gymnastics of getting my medium still shown in 10 years or 20 years. And yeah, I don't know. I just rambled a lot about change and
No, that's good.
art, but hopefully that got us somewhere. Where are we going next, Dragons?
So what are some of the suggestions that you would have for artists, like static artists or, you know, painters or sculptors or whatever? I mean, sculptors I know could do like a 360 video or whatever, but especially for painters, like what would some of your suggestions be for Alan and I to get in on that ground floor with something that's minimum, right? Because a lot of us have either day jobs and we're artists, or we're doing art full time and we don't. And that's the part of it too, is a lot of us just don't have the time to sit down and edit. I mean, I haven't done reels because the thought of sitting down and editing videos is so soul crushing for me that I just don't even want to start.
No, and Substack makes us reel cuts for us, and I still
can't post them, Alan.
I still have not posted 3 episodes behind.
But he was hassling me about episodes. No, I'm just kidding.
Content on our social media, even though we have.
And how are they making those reel cuts?
They randomly pull through.
Mm-hmm.
So it's you know, it's like, we've edited some reels for you. Now I can go through and I can like highlight the text that I want to clip a reel from.
Yeah.
But again, that's more time that I'm going through, you know, and some of our guests, we've talked to like an hour and a half, almost 2 hours. So now I'm like filtering through 2 hours of text of trying to clip. And I haven't been able to like it. I don't know. The computer doesn't like it, or it doesn't stick to highlights. What's that?
It likes Carla more than me too.
Well, yeah, that's been kind of funny. Apparently I have better shit to say.
Thanks.
I'm kidding. Kind of. No, I'm kidding. But so, yeah, you can yell at me later, Alan. But yeah, what are some of the, like the ground floor, easy baby step? I can do it while I'm painting on my phone and not think about it.
Yeah, I think my favorite approach to that, twofold. So the first thing I would recommend for artists looking to cut their time down on that is to target a few searches on the platforms that you're most interested in showing up on. So that could be the Reels section of Facebook, or TikTok specifically, or even YouTube Shorts. And I would start searching, you know, maybe set yourself a research hour. And all that has to be is you saving a few posts. You can download them for the most part, or you can just save to a collection that you have of artists that are promoting content in a way that you find interesting. And I would say just keep it at that simple of, I liked how they did that. I liked how they turned their canvas around for a reveal, or I appreciated that time-lapse content and how they edited it with a voiceover. That's interesting to me. And then from there, I would gather my little Easter basket eggs and I would look at them. Okay, I think I can see how they did that. So maybe you notice there were 3 different camera angles, or maybe you don't notice that, because I'm a video nerd and so I'm looking for those things. But
right,
you start looking at those things and how they're presenting it, because it's both easier than you think and a little more complicated than the average person watching is realizing. So what I mean by that is probably the second fold of what I'm advising is if you download Instagram Edits on your phone, which is a free editing software that Meta has started to put out. Right. It's fairly new and it's growing in popularity, but it offers a lot of really easy tools that are not AI based. There are AI effects if you want to utilize those, but for the most part, it is a stitched together editing software and allows you to incorporate music to also boost your post. Yeah.
That's what it looks like if you need to know what the icon looks like.
Yeah. So that's my mobile editor of choice, partly because you can record.
I haven't used it yet. I just downloaded it.
Nice. But you can record in the app, which is really awesome. You can import directly from your camera roll. And then the lowest brow effort, I don't know what low brow means, but lowest bar for entry,
there you go,
is that if you were to film yourself maybe 3 angles, one of you painting, so you have it behind the canvas, one over your shoulder, maybe over the canvas, for example, if you're a visual medium, and then one of directly your face for the audience to connect with you, or, the art, a 3-prong approach, if you will. Then all you have to do is stitch them together. You don't have to do a voiceover if you're not comfortable with that yet, but you could add a little bit of trending music, and that's already a boost with not that much work. You could set your phone to record for 5 minutes, and you would have a reel in 15 if you spent 10 editing it. And that's kind of a generous expectation. I don't think it would take you that long.
3 different cameras, though, at the same time?
No. So this is just your phone. So if I had my phone right here, and let's say that I'm painting here. So I put my phone behind me to film one angle, maybe for a minute. So I have some choice footage of me painting. Maybe it's something I like or just a piece. Then I turn the phone around and I have it in front of me, but behind the canvas of me doing the art. And then maybe I choose that I want to be looking at the camera, like giving a little wave, hello, or I want to be showing the art or the final product of what I ended up creating. I stitch those 3 together to a trending audio, and you have maybe your first reel, if it's like a little intimidating. That to me is a really basic approach to creating video content without having to be a video editor.
I feel like I would have to do that before I hit flow state or after I hit flow state.
For sure.
And that to me is the most frustrating part of trying to do any sort of real content creation. Granted, I'm not.
You have to be authentic, but you're faking it, right? You've got to like, if I'm gonna be in flow state and I'm gonna paint all day, and then I'm gonna take the last 20-30 minutes, and that's where I'm gonna record my reels. So I still have a wet palette and some paint. I'm coming out of flow state, and I can just fake it or paint over something that I've block in something that I want to block in or something like that. Then you'd have to do it that way, or unless you're going to record yourself. And some people have that capability to do it. They record themselves. I know iPhone I haven't looked at it in a while, but they used to have a time lapse function. Yeah. And what it did was it took a photo every like 3 seconds or 5 seconds, and then it stitched it into a video. So it was still a small, and this was a couple of years ago, so I don't know if they still do it. I used to do it for when I would set up for shows. So I would videotape myself setting up for a show. And so it would be a 3-hour setup. Not that my setups are 3 hours anymore. A 3-hour setup, and then it would squash it down to like 30 seconds or something like that. So it might be something to look into. That it's a time lapse, something like that. If you want to do a long-term painting session or do a voiceover, something like that.
I also think some artists that I've seen talking about this online talk about having a content day, which I know it's not a common overlap, but my husband, who used to be an athlete, they had media days. And do you think an athlete wants to be thinking about how they're going to be posing? Like, maybe some do, but as they're really focused on
influencer athletes do.
Flow state, they're not really, for the most part, wanting to be thinking about, okay, am I going to get the perfect face when I make this goal, or how does my uniform look? Like I said, some may, but for the most part, they have a media day where they get the interview questions in, they get the content, they get the photos. And artists, I think, can think of themselves as athletes in the same way, where maybe I have a media day, or if I know that I have a big painting or a big game coming up, okay, I have a time for media, and then I have a time for I'm in the zone. And it's hard to create that barrier, especially if you are multi-passionate. Maybe you actually are really into your video and then it takes over a little bit of your mental space. But I find that compartmentalization ends up being pretty healthy because you're not so focused on it. You get more organic content or more authentic content because you're not as focused on it, and you get it out there. And that's what I think the goal is of this making content is, what did you say the other day, Carla? Like 10,000 hours of bad stuff, or like get the first 10,000 out of the way or something.
Oh yeah, get the first 10,000 sketches out of the way. So
Yeah,
you just got to shut up and do it, because that's the only way you're ever going to get anywhere. It's just,
and if
you might as well just do
First
it.
10,000 reels.
no joke, because if you look back on when most of the prominent content creators today, the ones that blew up around the pandemic, if you look back at their stuff from what they were posting at that time, it is low quality, it is lowbrow, it is not anything anywhere near what they're posting today. And if they do overlap in content, even for a nostalgia watch, it's not the same quality, it's not the same format. And I think that should be an example to budding content creators, and that includes all artists that are just trying to get their stuff seen, is don't be afraid to be bad at it in the beginning. As artists, that. But we seem to be a little afraid of it.
What are you trying to say, Alan?
Nothing.
I'm not bad at anything. I don't know what your problem is.
I didn't.
He's looking at me funny. No, well, and I think that's something to keep in mind is I mean, no matter what skill you're going into, is be bad at it, right? Like, be okay being bad at it. And I think that's something that I know I've struggled with is, I've lost days into looking at cameras or lighting on the cheap, or, how the hell are we going to do this? Because it seems like the things that we see more of are the high processed, clean, well finished reels or things like that. But if your focus is on the art and not on reels, then you're just going to have to be okay with, maybe lesser quality, or
at first, in the
at
beginning,
first,
because
yeah.
Even as someone who is focused on the quality, on the reel, on making video content, my stuff from a few years ago, I look at and I cringe because I'm like, this is so bad. And I knew what I was looking at. I would be looking at a video that was high quality, like, okay, I'm going to do that. It's interesting to me. And it just didn't come out the same way. And that's okay. Now, in comparison, I know the frame rate. I know all the quality settings that I need to do. I know how to position the lighting. I know when I need to retake. Those things only come from experience. And when it comes to this social media content, you even build authenticity from having those bad things, because people scroll and they keep watching. They're like, oh, this is when they were a person, not an influencer. And I like seeing that in my clients, is having that diversity and that evolution. That's what we like as humans, is to see growth and progress. And sometimes when we're thinking about social media, we forget that for the most part, we're trying to reach other humans,
Do you think a organic or an authentic platform or feed is better than, say, a curated feed? Like, I know there's some artists who curate their feeds to almost be like small galleries, especially with static artists. But I mean, I remember when I first started out, like, I would post just my daily life, and like, this is the life of an artist, right? I treated it like a journal. But then, there's like some people some people are saying like you have to be more targeted. Some people are saying you have to, but I don't know. I kind of always liked intermixing both my work and my life, to let people know, like, this is the life of the artist that you're looking at.
Yeah. And there's a content creator that I recently started following on TikTok that he is kind of marketing that he's normal, and like I mean, he's making chicken nuggets for his daughters and like going on a run, and like he's not your average influencer. And I feel like we're seeing a resurgence of the desire for authenticity, especially as AI makes its presentation in our lives, and finding authentic, real content is getting harder to discern. But bringing it back to your question of, is it better to be on an authentic platform as opposed to showing your authentic self maybe on these regularly regurgitated platforms like Meta and TikTok and those kind of things? Better is a hard term in social media because better can mean a lot of
Subjective.
things. Right. And I think there needs to be sort of an understanding of yourself and your goals in order to make that decision for yourself as an artist or as a business or some combination of both. And so if your goal is to blow up and become famous and have millions of dollars and not worry about money, oh, wouldn't that be lovely if all of us, if we had a way to do it, sort of, then yeah, you can listen to the influencers that pop on and try to make you feel bad about your content and say things like, if you're not over here, you're missing out. And if you're not doing this, you're definitely going to be left behind when we all join on the spaceship and leave you. That is definitely a marketing strategy that fear-based.
That was a cult and everybody died.
That's kind of what it feels like. A lot of these
jump off the bandwagon.
Yeah, these marketing experts pop on and try to make you feel bad about those things. But like I was saying, an understanding of self, your business, your niche, if you will, and figuring out how you want to present is how I would decide on my platform. As a static artist, like I was saying earlier, yeah, Pinterest has a lot of static forward things that, people repost, they save as image, they pull into Canva without any guidelines or guardrails. Those things happen all the time, and we do see static artists having large followings over there. So, you want a big following? Sure, we consider that as a static artist, and we consider the risks that come along with it. However, there also exists communities of people posting their TikToks on Pinterest, even with the logo, which was 2 years ago something you really didn't want. There were whole apps dedicated to removing the logo from TikTok so you could repost your content. And so things have changed a lot. And if you're looking at, do I want to be over here and presenting to a small group of people that I know are ride or dies for me? Or do I want to be shouting into the void on the chance that somebody walks by and hears me? Again, I'm making metaphors and hypotheticals, but I think that's step one when you're starting to create your content strategy, whatever it is who do you want to reach and what do you want their reaction to be when they see you?
Understanding what the platforms offer. Because I think, Alan, what you were asking for specifically was feeds, like when we post. So I know back in the day when I started, you were professional, right? You were posting the shows or the art and the finished art and very clean, very curated, you have Instagram posts where it's all close-ups of little paintings with little plants around it and the brush laying across it. And it's all the same tchotchkes around artwork, but all of their, look the same. But I think, I don't know if this is still the thing, but I think at the time that was depending on what audience you wanted. If you're wanting to get into galleries, it was all finished art. If you were wanting something super professional, if you're wanting just to show people a slice of life, then you were posting, you were posting parts of your life and parts of your art and in progress shots and stuff like that. I think that's closer to what he was asking.
Yeah, so can you tell me a little bit more of where I can direct my answer on that?
Well, yeah, there's with the curated feeds, like as an illustrator or somebody who's trying to get the attention of, say, like the publishing companies or an AD or curated specifically for something in that field, or maybe even trying to get sponsorship. There seems to be there's people who curate their feeds to be like an art gallery, to be highly professional. Even the whole flow of it, nine posts deep, look like a look like an entire image. They'll have it like working through, and now they even have some things with animations involved too as well. And so there's those kind of things, and then there's more like, I don't know what I do, which is I call it the up against the kitchen wall kind of posting, where I will post like sketches and new content as I get them, but then I'll also post like you said, me running or doing something fun, like going, like I did bison saunter the other day, so probably almost got stampeded by bison, so I'll post that or something in regards to that, just to let people know, like, yes, I'm a human being, and I'm living my life, but I'm also an artist. So
I think those choices in particular can be really, really great on the right platform and really detrimental on the wrong one. And so on TikTok, for example, you don't see as much curation of the feed in the same sense of where Instagram used to be, where you would have those 9 posts, the beautiful graphic, and then someone would post one odd and it would shift it all off, and it would be very frustrating. You do see some folks that try to replicate that, and from what I've seen, they're not quite as successful. And it's because TikTok in general, you're scrolling your For You page or your friend's page, and you're not going in on someone's profile as often. Or if you are, you're still scrolling it as if it were a feed. And so you can build it almost like one continuous video of content that's explaining who you are, versus on Instagram, maybe let me back that up. So on TikTok, you might be able to diversify your content in that way, where you have finished pieces, progressed towards that finished pieces that make sense logically. And then also running, I'm a human being. This is what I ate today. And people literally would eat that up. And that's just them getting to know you. They're understanding you. They're cycling through your feed. Versus on Instagram, it's starting to take what's working on TikTok and implement it. So I could see that continuous scroll of the single page becoming more and more popular. But you do see that sub-niche specificity, that sounds so lame, but truly, sub-niche specificity starts to differentiate on when people are seeing your content, because you post something out of that. And on Instagram, it's kind of like, wait, what? Why are we seeing cooking content? Aren't you like a painter?
Yeah, it's like
confused.
hyper specialized. Like Instagram seems hyper specialized.
And that's where TikTok was 2-3 years ago, which is interesting, because with Meta products, we're starting to see them pull from successful social medias. So if you want to be successful on Meta, you pay attention to where things are heading on other social media platforms. You take from them and you start to build. But you have to still consider, again, this is all in a successful building towards followers mindset. You have to consider what's working on that platform that you're on currently. So if you're on Meta and you're diversifying and doing all these things, maybe in 2-3 years that might pay off. It's a worthwhile gamble. I think I was talking about this before we got on, about thinking of it like investment portfolios. But currently, you do want to have maybe 2-3 Instagram accounts where you have your professional that has a specific aesthetic and niche. You might have your B-roll clips where you have the stuff that doesn't quite make it on the professional, but is people getting to see who you are, and you link that in your bio. And I know I'm a chatterbox on this. I'll keep going and going and going on your strategy.
That's a lot of gardens
No, that's
to
great.
water.
It is. It's a lot of gardens to water. And again, if that's your goal to become successful on Meta, that's what I would prescribe to you. If you just want to get your content out, I think sometimes the best thing you can do is have your 3 accounts. You make one content day and you get 9 reels out of it, and you're able to decide where those seeds get planted. Does that make sense in the garden metaphor?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Totally.
Cool. So you choose where those seeds get planted, because you have, let's say, the Edits app where you make one cut of it. Okay, that did well on TikTok. I'm going to move it over to Reels. Okay, I'm going to make another cut of it where it's focused on the painting more than me. That's going on my professional. Now I'm going to make one more cut of it where I'm saying stupid things at the camera because I'm frustrated, blah, 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 blah. That's going on my personal. And then I might repost that as a story on my professional, so people who are interested might click on it and then follow me there. So you start to think about the leveraging of posts, stories, reels, and even the little thought bubbles. That's a new feature in Instagram and Meta.
Yeah.
You can utilize that to get people to see your stuff. There's a lot going on. As we said earlier, it is attention farming. Absolutely.
Yeah, I know some artists who run their Instagram feed specifically like a gallery, and only have like 9 posts. They won't go any more than like 6 or 9 posts, and they'll just switch it out. They'll switch out the images as like almost like a portfolio. So they won't like. There's no like constant scrolling. It's just like that's their new content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's a million and one approaches you can take.
Yeah.
It all comes back to what's your goal and who's your audience. Because, if you're trying to reach the 55 to 75 age demographic, they're looking for completely different things. If you're casting a wide net, that's really awesome. But then it's what topics are you casting your net in? What are the rivers? What are the streams? What are the oceans? Deciding on those sizes, and then that determines your platform. So it's a lot going on, and if I can get more specific or be more helpful on that, please let me know.
I mean, you could give a whole class on this.
And as someone, Carla, I was going to say earlier when you were talking about being on social media 10, 15 years ago, so was I, but I was not supposed to be. I mean, being 9 years old with your cousin making you on MySpace, like you start to see the evolution. And then I even went through the era of having to tell Facebook to change my age because I was finally 13. It's horrifically embarrassing, but more and more people are having those experiences where they grow up on the internet, they're seeing how it's changing, and now they're in charge of what's cool on the internet, and it's very confusing.
That's a lot of pressure.
It is, and you're also dealing with the capitalism side of it, so you've got graphs going like this, and social media is a crazy landscape, but I'm still very excited to see where that dragon flies off to, because I have hope for it.
Which is why I had you on, because like I said, we've all been quite doom and gloom, and I've been ready to walk away from my Facebook page numerous times. And you're saying understanding who's on what platforms, I think is huge too.
Yeah.
Because I've considered leaving Facebook a few times, and then when I look, the majority of my audience is still on Facebook. They're usually in that 40 to 60 range now. They're a little older. I'm not getting. I mean, that's kind of shifting now, especially with AI, and I'm in the group of artists that's not using AI, and Gen Z is very nostalgia for pre-AI stuff. Wow, I'm making a comeback on the nostalgia train. But Facebook is still where the bulk of my audience is, and the Blue Sky is great and Canva was great, but you have nothing but really other artists on Canva. And even Blue Sky is mostly creatives. It's not the general public are not on AI, and the general public is going to have a hard time switching platforms, right? They're not going to want to make those changes. They're already in the Facebook ecosystem. And that's part of it too, is making sure the customers that you want to follow are in the ecosystem that you want to be in. I just ran my Kickstarter, and I got a little bit of flack for running a Kickstarter because Kickstarter allows AI content and stuff like that. But the majority of people who purchase my products already are in that 40 to 50 to 60 range, and they understand Kickstarter. Having to educate an entire group of people just because they want to buy my book, you're gonna start losing people, right? The more work somebody has to do, the more likely you are to lose them. So figuring out what ecosystem your customers, consumers, followers, whatever are in, and working with that ecosystem, I think is really important. But please correct me if I'm wrong.
No, and then also accepting that you're not going to catch everybody. Like sometimes I find myself in the role of user experience designer as a social media person, because if you're trying to direct people to do something, fund your Kickstarter, buy a book, look into anything other than what's immediately in front of them, there's going to be people who have glitches. You might have the typical, boomer generation where someone doesn't actually know how to use the tech and they're blaming you for it, leading to someone in the comment section having a different error that they're synonymizing with what's going on with your content. And you can't well, as my dad would say, what is it that if you get into the mud with the pig likes the mud. So stay out of the mud. So
that is so good in today's comment
Right?
section era.
yeah, and so you just want to stay out of it, because with the social media, if it's your business,
Such good
your likeness,
advice.
yes, for anything, honestly. But if it's you, your content, it's a piece of your heart. And so when people start not understanding it, or it's not resonating, or they're having trouble navigating it, you will step into so many roles trying to fix it, and sometimes you just lose them. And
Yeah.
that's okay. And I try to encourage folks, like,
Those are not
you
your
could be
customers.
you could be doing everything right,
I
and
think we
it's still not working, and it's okay.
I
Keep
think
going.
in as far as Meta, as far as Facebook is concerned, we also have to recognize when a social media company has like invested their attention in a different aspect of their platform that works better. Like pages, the enshittification of pages, we curse on this podcast, by the way, has been happening for a while now. And I kind of feel like groups have been the last 10 years the stronger way to reach people and to build community and to build visibility in Facebook proper.
Yes.
But Facebook still has the market on localized events, and that's one of the things that keeps them one of the strongest contenders against really a lot of different things, even printed, even like printed media like newspapers. Like that's what keeps them
Well, like Ruidoso didn't have a newspaper for almost 10 years. Like we just got a newspaper back in the last year and a half, I think. But yeah, 6 or 7 years we didn't have a newspaper at all here. So
yeah.
Well, keeping your finger on the pulse of events and Facebook, because yes, many times I've thought, before I was really working professionally in Facebook, in social media, I would think, I kind of hate Facebook, I'm just going to delete it. But my college posts all the events there, and I like to let people know I'm going, and that's my invite. And there's been a rise. Like I said, keep your finger on the pulse of it, because it's ready to change. I'm not saying that this will be the change, but it appears to be a shift towards Partiful, which is really interesting. A fellow Stanford graduate developed it, and it's been growing. I saw someone from my
Partyful?
hometown send me a Partiful invite, and I was like, what? That was my friend's
is it a different social media? Like we're like old here.
I'm thinking it's
an
event platform like Eventbrite or something.
Like Eventbrite, yes, but it has a little bit more of a social media element, and so it has that in between of Facebook and Eventbrite. At that, what Eventbrite lacks in the social, and what Facebook lacks in the structure. So they get a little bit of that without it tying to your social media. And so as Gen Alpha is believed to move away from social media and into anonymity, but still consuming, platforms like that are on the rise. And I find that very interesting. Where will the culture of anonymity, if it does continue to grow, where will that lead us? So sorry, that's a whole nother tangent, but
yeah, no,
that's awesome.
Because we've been thinking about in-person experience and events for a while, versus curating social media. We're like, let's water the garden that's working for us. So it's like, if social media hasn't been working for us, then in-person events and experiences, there's a huge shift back towards experiencing things like concerts, shows, conventions, fairs.
Absolutely. And I think it's a little sad, but right now the capturing of the experience is almost proving that you had it and validating that it was there, that it existed, and posting that to social media is another niche of content that is what I believe has led to so much of our almost regurgitated influencer content, because now we have influencer voice. We know when it's coming. get ready with me to go to this concert and blah, 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 blah. And I'm so excited to be here. And I'm not negging it. Like it is its own niche. It's its own art, if you will. It has a style, it has form, it has function. And I think social media...
Come with me to this restaurant and we're going to try the best burger in Kansas. And
Exactly. And it is its own thing. And like I said, it shows that you had the experience. And, that's maybe not as relevant for artists, but the consumers consuming content about the art, especially in a poor economy where you can't go out and pay for the experiences, it's interesting to start to see that content take precedence and become the new normal, where Facebook posts, blog posts, those things used to be. The vlog used to be a 10-minute video, a 20-minute if you were lucky. That was awesome at the time. Now, not so much. Now we're in that short form niche. And yeah, it's just, again, on the ever-evolving change of social media.
Yeah. That's
and it
incredible.
changes so fast.
It does. It does.
And
I think we can be very scared of it. I know I find myself afraid what I'm putting out. It may not look good, or it'll be, what do they say? It'll be, nothing's timeless anymore. So it'll be aged and dated in a few years, just like the vlogs of the 2010s are now. But at the time, they felt so impactful and like they were the new media, and they did become new media. I mean, you have media companies evolving from those little things like Smosh and the Try Guys, and these now huge companies from what used to be just little videos filmed on a camcorder.
Yeah.
I don't know that we can all hope to have that sort of meteoric rise to success. I don't know that we all need to either. And so
and I think if you come at it from the right angle, there's something freeing about that, right?
Right.
Like, no matter, if I put videos out now, in a year, it may not fucking matter because it's not going to be relevant, or it's not going to be, whatever. So you just, I mean, it makes it okay to throw just shit out there because it's probably not going to stick, right? Or that it's not going to stick for long. And I'm not saying like cancel culture level stuff. Like, don't go out and, do reels about how you're, whatever. Don't need to go there. But, you're less, there's something freeing about it and less worried about the quality of the camera and the quality of and, keep an eye on the tools that you have too. I mean, Alan and I literally started this podcast with a webcam and crappy mics, and, it's been a slow investment. I had to put foam stuff on the walls to cut down my echo, and it's still echoey, and I still need to put more stuff up. But, I went out and bought a $50 mic from Walmart based on what another friend told me to do. And, it's a slow, we need to realize that it's a slow process. And as artists, especially as established artists who have been established in our niches, like, we're already good and we have forgotten what it's like to be bad. And to think that we have to adapt to something or bring something in that we don't already know how to do is a really scary thing, especially for those of us who are in our middle ages where, we're already good at this stuff, right? Like,
and if I can interject,
speak for yourself,
I
Carla.
would say, ground it back in the art and the marketing of the art. And as the artist, what the hell do I do with social media? The big idea is that now it has gotten so big and so vast that there are a plethora of choices. And that can be overwhelming, but it can also be empowering in that you, for one of the first times in social media history, have the ability to choose the platforms that best represent who you are. And you can trust that if you hone that skill and you hone it in a way that represents your art accurately, that you will start to build a community. Now, I'm not saying that that is the key to becoming an influencer and being successful, since that seems to be the goal of a lot of people's minds because it presents financial security. However, a lot of those folks who had that happen did not plan for that to happen. And that should tell you that social media is a pretty unpredictable landscape. Now, if you have a business and you're in the 10 to 20,000 follower range and you're trying to learn how to be better, I would encourage you to do some research on social media strategies specific to your platform. And if you're in the smaller creatordom, then you need to research what you like on the platform, what things are doing well, and compare that to what you like. Because what you like might be what's doing well in a few months. What is doing well may not be doing well in a few months. And again, it comes back to, I know that's scary, but figure out who you are before you start, just mass posting, trying to do exactly what this one influencer told you would make you blow up on Blue Sky or whatever. You could figure it out, take a breath, do some research, and treat it like a real medium. Because I think we forget it's social media, it's whatever. Well, if you want it to pay off for you, invest a little bit of time in getting to know it. Take it out on a date, if you will. Start looking into what you like about it and what you don't like about it. And I promise that that'll get you at least one step closer in the right direction. And then start worrying about how I can optimize, or all the buzzwords that they throw out at you trying to get you to buy their program or whatever. Step by step, get to know it, and then you'll start to build your niche and your content and your community.
I know we
research and experiment first? Who the fuck does that?
I don't know.
I know we talked about this off camera before we started, but how do you feel about artists that recycle their content or recycle their reels in regards to trying to get more people on the platform to see it through hashtag usage or whatnot?
As someone who aspired to be a filmmaker, I will say I used to hate it. I used to be very upset anytime I thought about reusing or repurposing content. And it took a few times for me, scrolling through and seeing other people talking about, don't be afraid to recut and repost. And I think that is such good advice because, like I said, just as social media changes so quickly, if you are consistent with promoting who you are, your art, or your business, you're going to get better at it. And something that you made 6 months ago that was maybe good stock with bad wrapping, I think you could probably make a little bit better. I also think you could just repost it as is, and maybe it catches fire. Maybe the wind takes it a little further than it did last time, like a kite. And you just don't know. So looking back on the things that you found interesting in your own content, if I'm you, Alan, and I'm going back and I'm looking at maybe a static post that I made that I was like, that didn't get the likes I thought it should.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure this was good and I really like it. I'm just going to repost it and let's just see what happens. Most of the time, if I see someone reposting something as a consistent media consumer, kind of like, oh, weird, moving on. I like it and move on. So if you're afraid of the embarrassment, if anyone is, let that part go, because social media moves so fast. Probably people won't remember it. And if they do, it's gone in an instant. And so if you believe in the art, keep it going and repost it.
Yeah, that was
oh, go ahead, Alan.
That was my thought too, because people scroll so quickly, the amount of people that can actually see what you're posting is probably only a fraction of your reach.
And is it better to this is kind of, we're getting to technical questions here, but sure. Is it better to go to the original source image that's on Instagram and repost it that way? Or is it better to pull the same file off your folder? Is that something that the algorithm even pays attention to, or?
I would almost say it's better to make a new post with the same content. Okay. Reposts only go so far. And in my experience, they're really great for getting your local events seen, those kind of things. You post a repost and it shows up, that's when you're doing person to person media, in my opinion, as opposed to entity to person, where you're trying to get someone to see something or interact or, care about the art or something. I would take my source image or source video and then look at it, maybe make a tweak or two if I felt like I could have a better caption or a better adjustment on the color or whatever it ended up being, and just repost it there. And I would carry no shame with that.
Right. Yeah. That and using the same clip. So you take a clip, say it's a 30-second clip or whatever, and you do a voiceover. Mm-hmm. Doing multiple voiceovers over the same clip. Yeah. That's all kosher.
I would believe that's kosher, especially if you're a small account. I mean, I don't know that a large account is coming to me for social media advice at this time. And so someone with 1 million followers might do that and people will be like, that was weird. But these small accounts where you're trying to get people to see your stuff, absolutely, because it catches wind one day, the weather changes, right? I think it's fine, especially with a little refresh or a little tweak only makes it better.
Yeah, I was watching a video, and it was an anti social media video. Well, it wasn't. Yeah, it was the guy got off social media. But one of the things he was talking about is the long-term effects that we're finding with social media is the social media dementia, where you just don't remember. You're scrolling and looking at so many things that you don't remember what you looked at 5 minutes ago, let alone 5 days ago, right?
That's why I like the saved feature.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I've got a few of those. So yeah, and that's something that I've tried to keep in mind too, is that unless they're following and incredibly active on my social medias, they're not going to see the same images, even if I'm posting the same painting once a week. And then on top of that, if they do, they go, "Oh, I love that painting. I'm so glad you shared it again." So that's something that I have experienced. But I thought the social media dementia was interesting, that we're having a hard time as a species remembering things because we're so chronically online and just feeding all the time, constantly. So nothing is sticking.
And I think that that's where we need to, instead of pretending like that's not the reality, because it is, and the folks who profit off of social media, I'm sure they want to just pretend like, oh, it's great, have a great time, spend 8 hours on your phone.
Right.
I think that we can acknowledge the beast and still find enjoyment and community on it. And that's where my perspective on it is. I don't think you'll hear from me the strategy advice that ESPN is probably working on to get their account seen by 16-year-olds. Like for me, it's, as the artist, understanding yourself and figuring out, how do we leverage this thing to represent us well and not plague the world with some more stressful things or content that we know is not accurate. How can we be good stewards of our followers' attention, so to speak?
Yeah, ESPN's like, we need Mr. Beast eating a hot dog in front of a basketball court.
And hey, I make some weird content over at DragonLady, and I have a great time.
Okay? You very much have.
But I do believe that what we're doing is fun and good-hearted and kind, and I think that
it fits the brand, right? It fits the owners, and it fits the brand, and it fits. You guys are trying to push as a fun venue and a fun place to hang out, that's open and accessible for anybody, and not like the two other bars in town that are a little more on the conservative side.
For legal reasons, I can neither nod nor shake my head, but I will just blink.
Blink. Yes. Blink. It's blink if it's safe there. Blink if it's safe there.
Yeah. Blink twice if you're okay.
Well, and you're providing an experience too. I think when you're promoting something where I also run on Facebook. I run an arts community group where in my region, a regional arts community group. And I try to do experiential things. Like, people are hungry for that. People are hungry to do in-person, low stakes in-person things, like go out to karaoke or go to a sketch jam or drink and draw or something that is like community building. I think that is really people are hungry for that, and I see that's a lot of what social media is being utilized for. People are getting in and getting out, and then getting what they need, and oh, I'm going there, goodbye.
Yeah, I think that the event space of it and the community building is where I hang my hat on social media. That I believe that if you are not using the classic clickbait. I mean, I don't want to neg things, because they are strategies that you can leverage appropriately and leverage kindly. But I think overall, if we remember that social part of social media, then we can start to kind of bring it back to where it was in the good old days, but with a new coat on, so to speak.
The good old days.
It sounds so goofy to say it that way, but I understand what we're talking about, in that, seeing your community posts and having your people being able to interact with your stuff it's almost foreign now, and I think we're seeing a yearning for it and hopefully a resurgence, as long as we as content producers start to steward that rather than accepting maybe the things that are making it worse.
Well, I mean, we already saw a little bit of that change with the recent Instagram AI, like editing other people's like profile pictures to do with what you want and share that. Like, it was an unpopular thing out the gate, and Meta had to rescind that option so that it wouldn't. Well, I mean, it'll probably repackage it somewhere else, but.
As any good salesperson would, right?
Yeah, right.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here, Rachel. I learned a lot, especially like as far as utilizing the platform a little bit smarterly. That words.
Yeah, I hope it was informative. I know that my approach is a little gentler than I think the average social media expert might approach it. I can't quite bring myself to say that there's one way to do it, or there's even 2 to 3 ways that you should be doing it, because it's so personal now and it's so representative of whoever you want to curate your online presence to be, and it could change in an instant. And so I don't like to prescribe, but I do think as long as you get something, I hope that it is generally that you can make what you want of it. And just like you treat and tend to your art, you can tend to your social media in a way that doesn't detract from what you're doing, but only enhances it.
I think that's important, because I think, you're overwhelmed. You start doing social media research, and the first place you do is go YouTube and what social media is working in 2006 or whatever. And it's all of these, 3 things that you have to do in every post in order to get your, and it's like head bashing. And then you start looking at these accounts and you're like, they don't have any followers either. They're just doing it for clickbait and ad revenue. Absolutely. And, that kind of stuff too. I mean, the amount of, especially if you look into like the AI stuff, the amount of, I generate t-shirts and opened up a Shopify store and now I'm a millionaire. Like, it's ridiculous when none of these people are actually succeeding.
Interesting case study here. I was doing some social media, again, I put in quotes. I shouldn't quote it. It's real, whatever. It's research. I was curious because I was looking into reality TV stars who have immense followings that blow up immediately after. They're normal people that go on reality TV, typically on these love shows, like Love Island and The Bachelor or whatever. They go on these shows, they have immediate spikes in following, and then they have a responsibility. They have to decide, is this who I am, and am I going to keep doing this? Am I going to turn this into something else, or am I going to let it fade? And if I was going through, I think, the Bachelor's following lists, or Bachelor in Paradise, or one of them, and I was going to see, like, people from 10 years ago, okay, let's see, have they kept their following? Have they not? And to see some of them employ those YouTube strategies like you're talking about, that you have to do this. Some of them are doing it and failing. Some of them have not done their research. And some of them have done a little too much research. And you can tell because the content is no longer authentic to the person that they were connecting with on that camera show. So I guess it just made me think of that, because it is such an unpredictable thing. And if you look at those reality stars who got the mega following that, maybe we're striving towards as we're creating our profiles, what did they do with it? It's not guarantee. Followers are not a guarantee of success on any of these platforms. They're short-lived. They can go away in an instant. And if you want to do some case study research, look into your favorite reality TV stars or ones that were popular and see what they did. You might learn some interesting things about what you find good, interesting, and definitely not.
Yeah. And that's it. And yeah, just keeping up with it and learning the new strategies, but watching it from sources that you like and not just what some YouTube influencer is screaming at you to do, for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks. If you want to let people know, is there a place that you want people to find you or anything like that?
Yeah, sure. Right now I have my main account is Rachel Maria Portillo. That's my first name, RachelMariaportillo. You can slow that down. You can figure it out. That's where I try to post a lot of my content, and we do collaborations with the accounts that we end up creating with. And yeah, I'm very proud of the stuff that we've been working on. My husband helps me with a lot of my stuff, and I'm excited to debut more documentary and filmmaking content as I've grown my skills.
Cool. We'll have to have you on for that kind of stuff too. That would be fun to hear about your actual artistic journey versus the social media journey, because it sounds like you're approaching social media as an artist, but it's just, as you said, it's another media as opposed to,
yeah, that was
just something I need to do to get seen, and why can I not get seen, right?
I will say, and I promise I won't drag on too long about this, but that was a huge mindset shift when, as someone who grew up on social media, it was like, okay, is this just the thing that my parents are saying is bad for me, or is there any substance here? And treating it like an art form has been much more liberating and way more fun, and I've found much more success.
Very cool. That's awesome. Cool. Well, thanks for joining us at Here Be Dragons. Make sure to like, subscribe, and find us on the web at herebedragonsartcast.com, Substack, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pocket Cast. We're on all the things. We're headed towards 1,000 downloads fairly rapidly, which is pretty exciting. So join us for the journey, and we'll keep going. So thank you, guys. Hopefully this was good for you, and we will see you next time.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.